Hello, everybody. My name is Sascha Goetzel, and I welcome you here for our series Offstage on Check the Gate. Tonight, I will be joined by the violinist Blake Pouliot, who will now, hopefully, be online very soon, so I can bring him in to our interview.
Hello.
Hi, Blake. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I finally figured it out.
How is Los Angeles?
Oh, I mean, it's so funny because one of the hardest things we experience here in LA is the fact that almost every day it is, like 23 degrees Celsius and sunny and beautiful, and yet we're in this global pandemic and instructed to stay inside, not be anywhere, and it's a weird kind of juxtaposition. But I do have to admit, as someone who's very much influenced by sunlight and weather, that for me personally, it makes me feel a little bit better knowing that it's so nice out. you know.
So, Blake, I invited you tonight to have a little off-stage talk about things the audience usually don't hear from us so much. So my first question is, from all the historic figures, which was the one you could say influenced you the most in your life as a person?
Musically?
No. I mean, if it's musically, it's fine too. But actually, I was more interested as a person, for your character, as a maybe, when you were a teenager, we all had our little idols, and then we were getting a little bit older, they were changing. So I was more interested in that, actually.
For sure. Well, one person to me that I've always just loved their entire trajectory, their personality, and what they did was Freddie Mercury, who was the lead singer of Queen. I always loved Queen's music ever since I was a kid. But what I loved about Freddie Mercury so much was that his entire persona and character on stage was that it wasn't contrived. It didn't seem forced or fake. He was just this really infectiously delightful person, and he was so out there and wild and talented and just really, really incredible. And I just loved his whole energy and personality, and his entire identity was just this honest and earnest, eccentric vision. And when I was a kid, I loved Queen's music, and he was someone who I thought was just so cool, and always I just love how he didn't really care at the end of the day what anyone else thought of him. And
did you like the movie?
Bohemian Rhapsody? I thought it was fine. I actually thought that it was kind of one of the things that I was more disappointed in was that I feel like it was more of a feel good movie in the end. I feel like how they did it, and I think that I really wish they focused a lot more on the development of the band itself, and also on Freddie Mercury's struggle with lying to the press about his sexuality and being someone who had AIDS and the struggle he had to endure. They didn't really touch on a lot of that, which is kind of what made him a really significant character. So wasn't a super fan of the movie, but I've always been much more interested in the real facts about his life.
The actual character. Have you ever seen him live on stage?
Pardon me?
Have you ever seen him live on stage, Freddie Mercury?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I've watched tons and tons of videos.
No, but I mean actually live in the concert hall.
Freddie Mercury? No.
No.
No. I mean, he's dead.
I know, but I saw it. I'm old. Can you imagine?
That's like, to me, that's a dream come true. I would have loved to be able to see him.
No, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Okay, so now let's get back to you. I would not say you're the Freddie Mercury of the violinist players now around, but definitely you are representing a new generation of violinists, I can say. So, in your words, when you are observing the scene, you know all the great violinists. What would you say is the special thing about this new generation of violinists?
I think one thing I've particularly noticed that I'm really inspired by, that I like seeing the way things are going, is simply the fact that, I think that when it comes to performers, classical music, soloists in particular, um, over the 20th century and the way it started building, there was kind of this obsession with perfection and what does perfection mean, and the ability to kind of execute uh, any piece that you're performing for people from beginning to end with your own perspective of perfection. And usually, what does that entail? It means playing every note in tune and playing every dynamic that's there, the phrasing, the execution, like the refinement, all of it. And I think that that kind of coexisted with the world's expectation and development of technology, and the fact that architectural, artistic, technological, everything was kind of starting to become this obsession and idea of perfection, and what is that? And so that's really, I feel like, the way that music was constructed. We're obsessive. And I found that now we've gotten to this place where people are kind of starting to take their foot off of that direction and instead kind of direct to something, instead of what is perfect, instead of aiming for something that's meticulously technologically perfect, and something that is more personal and something that perhaps is a little bit more daring or different, and especially, I speak just as a violinist, but if you look at the way that violinists were playing something like Mozart 30 years ago, and then look at how people are performing Mozart now. The style has changed, um, taking more liberties in working with the dynamics and the bowing and the articulation, and everything's kind of changing in this way, which is really, I find they're experimenting and really trying harder to do something new, and really play a lot more into this kind of, instead of perfecting everything that's on the page, perfecting an interpretation. And I think that I hope to also be part of that change of people that isn't, obsessing over minute details, but instead of trying to perfect the projection of what we want to display, what the composer wants, what we're trying to do, and put that all together. And to me, it seems more relaxed. It seems a little bit more accessible, and much less uptight.
Well, it's beautiful. I think very nice. Tell me, from the offstage point of view, what was the best thing which ever happened to you off stage?
The best thing that's ever happened to me? Wow, oh my god, I don't know, too many to name. I try to be really optimistic all the time. But God, one of the fondest memories I ever had was when I was actually, a couple of years ago, I was in Europe, and I was there with one of my best friends, who's also another violinist and colleague. Her name's Simone Porter, and she and I decided on a whim, no planning, no anything, decided to go to Manchester during their Pride Festival. And I had never been to a Pride or anything. I had never been to one. And we went there, and they literally blocked off miles of the city just for like this crazy party. And we went there and just had the funnest time doing it, singing, and it was hilarious. But that was one of the best things I ever did, and it was complete, which is what made it so fun.
And the scariest thing, the most scariest thing?
The scariest thing I've ever done was the first time I performed at the Aspen Music Festival.
What did you perform?
Korngold Violin Concerto.
Oh, wow. And why was it the scariest thing?
I think it's a combination of a few things. I think number one, Aspen Music Festival, especially in the United States, is a very prestigious festival, and I studied there as a student for a number of years. I spent 3 summers there, actually, and Aspen is one of the only places in the world. It's kind of like the Verbier Festival, and a couple others, where you're gonna go there, and there's going to be conductors, other soloists, hundreds of young musicians who are your colleagues, who are going to be the next people in member orchestras, new presenters, artistic administrators. I mean, you have to go on stage and perform for probably the biggest number of musicians and critical people in your entire life. And not only did I feel the pressure from my colleagues and my peers, but I also respect the organization so much that I really wanted to, some of my favorite idols and were performing it around me. In the week that I performed, the week after me, James Ennis, Johnny Thibadet, and Renee Fleming were all performing that next week. And here I was, just this 20-year-old kid it was just mind blowing, and it's the only time actually I've ever been backstage and said I can't do this, I can't go on stage, and but I did it, and I think I pulled it off. I mean, I don't take my word for it, ask someone else because I have a different opinion, but that was probably one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life. Yeah.
Tell me, so as a musician, always you're surrounded by music more or less, and also people. What is the place you can find silence in? What are you doing to experience silence? Where do you go? What is your direction to go there?
I wear soundproof headphones.
That's a very, very clean answer, right?
Yes, exactly. No, a couple things. I think I find a lot of comfort and silence in. I'm very fortunate that I have a balcony in my apartment here in Los Angeles that I like to go sit on, and I also live right atop of Elysian Park, which is a huge park in the middle of the city. I'm very connected with nature. I've always found solace in that environment. I love going and hiking. I love going to any sort of habitat, especially alone. I find it incredibly therapeutic. But I think for me, being outdoors, being in nature, that's something that I find a lot of comfort in. And I find it kind of a beautiful escape from everything else. And for me, especially in this time and this global pandemic, I find it really rewarding to be able to go just, have a little bit of freedom, which is just being outside. You don't have to spend money, you don't have to do it.
So going back to the music, I know that you not only love classical music, you also love jazz, and especially Ella Fitzgerald is one of your big heroes. And I know in classical music it's Shostakovich, which goes really close to your heart. So my question would be, what would it look like if Blake Pouliot could compose a piece? What kind of what could we expect as an audience?
Well, well, I think honestly, I don't know. I think I would probably compose something um, that I think kind of would emulate both of those figures that you just named. I would love it to have this suave, sultry beauty, Gerald, but I would also like to match that with a kind of percussive, angular angst that is Shostakovich. I'm a huge fan of film composing and movie scores as well. And one of in particular is Michael Giacchino, who does all the music for the Pixar movies and a lot of other particular things. And I'd probably be inspired by that as well. And then I'm also a
So,
fan.
I know that you give a lot of interest in art. So when, for example, now you're living in Los Angeles, let's say tomorrow somebody knocks on your door and says, "Hey, you're exactly the type of kind of guy we need for our next action movie as the lead hero." Would you do it? Would you stop practicing for probably 1 year to doing a complete different form of art?
Yeah. If they have a check, I have a talent. No problem.
Yeah. So you think it's wonderful to jump around, right? To really experience all the art forms in a different ways besides your profession as a musician.
100%. I think I think that one of the things from that I would hope to experience and also achieve is the fact that I think deep down in my being and my soul and everything, I love classical music. I've always found myself circling back to the joy and the thrill of what it gives me personally. I pursued acting when I was a kid. I quit violin for 18 and I acted for a while. striking. You know, I thought I liked acting because I liked the essence of getting on stage. And one of the things I loved about violin was being on stage. But I hated the meticulous obsession over violin in particular, which was that pressure for and demand for utter perfection. And I couldn't even conceive that, you know? But then I found that from acting, what I didn't like was the fact that acting to me was pretending to be another person, and I didn't like that either. I found that kind of fake and not as thrilling because if I didn't like the character I had to play, I found it kind of redundant to even do it because I was like, what's the point of me doing something that I don't enjoy, you know? And that was when I kind of found that violin for me was the most thrilling, which is that I'm able to kind of channel my own desire to share something with people, but I get to do it as myself. And you know, if someone knocked on my door and said, "Hey, do you want to star in our action film?" I would absolutely do it for two reasons. One, I would love to try something different because I think it's really fun. But also, two, I would love it because I think what that would give me is it would give me a chance to kind of come out of classical music. And then when I come back to it, once again, reignite my passion and fire for why I love it so much. And I think that it would just kind of validate it even more for me. I hope.
Yeah, that sounds good. So tell me, from at home now, we're all a little bit, you know, as you said, we are stuck at home. You like to cook?
Love to cook.
What was your favorite dish?
A good steak, man.
Okay, so all the vegan, all audience now, vegan audience, this is, you talk about this vegetable steaks, right? You can get everywhere now. Yeah.
I mean, hey, if someone offered me a vegetarian vegan steak, I would absolutely choose it. But I've always wanted to become a vegan, mostly because of the how eco-friendly it is, and most of the food I do is all fresh foods. I don't really buy packaged things. I do everything in jars. I'm very conscious of my waste. But meat is such a bad contributor to the environment, but I can't seem to get it right yet. I think, honestly, who knows, in this particular global pandemic, we may all have to, but it's not on my radar to do that yet.
Okay, the last question, off stage. Are you superstitious? Do you have any special routines to get away from that?
No, not at all. I'm not superstitious at all.
Okay, so no special routines. The best is go to a parade before the concert to get the right energy and then right on stage.
No, I do exactly how I feel. I just do whatever I can. The one thing I do before I go on stage, which is definitely an offstage thing that no one ever is right before I walk on stage, I jump up and down like 3 times, like really high. Like,
I remember that. Yeah.
Remember? Right?
Yes.
I do every time. That's like the only weird thing I do. And it's not a superstition. It's just because I have energy, and it's a great way to like get some of it out, but stay energetic. I don't know. I just do it.
Okay, so now the audience knows that you're doing that before they see you coming up. Pretty cool, yeah. I think. Yeah. Okay, so Blake, we are here on Check the Gate always presenting something special at the end of our show for our audience. You have a surprise for us. What exactly you have as a surprise?
So one of the things I've been doing in isolation by myself is I've been practicing different calisthenics. And so I'm going to show you how to do a headstand.
Oh my God. So Blake Pouliot is already training for the superstar hero role in Hollywood 2021.
Exactly. When I don't have a job anymore.
Yeah, but you train your superpowers, which is really cool, I think.
Exactly. So I'm going to teach everyone how to do it because it's one thing I've been practicing. So
okay.
What you'll want to do is against a flat surface like a couch or a wall or something, you're going to want to put your head on the ground and support it with your hands. And then using this back support, you're going to kick your legs up and then support yourself with your upper body.
Oh, wait, Blake, but we are talking also about viewers here, like in my age. Can I do this still, or is it just for young generation?
Not at all, because I see people do this in yoga classes all the time that are like 60 years old.
Okay, so I can try it. Okay.
You can absolutely try it. So I totally suggest everyone trying it. It really works on all your core muscles and your legs and everything like that. Now let's hope I can even do it because I haven't done done it today yet.
Oh, wow.
So there we go.
Excellent. Okay,
That's
it was
cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I will try it and let you know in the next days when I still can write, if my hands are
Yes.
still functioning and it's not broken back. My back.
Maybe you
Okay,
should use a pillow or someone there to watch you if you're not.
I will. Blake, it was great talking to you and get a little bit of the LA vibes, and good to see you also back again. Let's talk very soon, and please take good care. We say bye-bye to all our viewers.
Yes.
This was the longest line we had so far. Check the gate, and I hope to see you very soon. Our show is tomorrow. Please check our stories, then you find out when and with whom. Blake, thanks so much. Have a wonderful evening. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.